All right. Well, I have with me Daniel Noe. Daniel Noe has big background when it comes to credit stack through cards in the business financing type of game. When you're trying to grow, whenever you try to do something for your scaling in your business, you want to be able to use other people's money. We went through this in the past few videos. I'm going to give you a quick background on what we've been developing and what brought us here today. Then I'm going to give Daniel the space to go into the related topics on how to grow, specifically when you're looking for credit and the best game at it. We've been doing marketing for about 7 years now, and 3 years before that, we did a lot of sales, did door knock, door to door, industry to industry with warehouses. And then we found out that most of the game is digital because you develop yourself online in a presence, and then that presence gives you a lot of scaling opportunities with different types of industries. And if you're a business that is looking to grow and not risk your own assets, as you find out in the future, in my experience, that's how it went. So developing around different niches was a sales strategy, and then I developed into marketing as well, learning the game behind it when it comes to the CRMs and the workflows, and now with Web3, all the automations that have to go through it in algorithms and also content creation, which is the bread and butter of what we should be doing as business developers. With that said, I'm very happy to bring you on to be able to help in any way possible in asking as much questioning as needed. Daniel Noe, could you give us a little bit more of your background and your passion behind helping entrepreneurs in their growth phase, or maybe getting started with any type of idea? Welcome to the podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. So where my passion comes from, how did I get started? I've been kind of a little bit of a serial entrepreneur, I guess, to some degree. I started off my career doing the traditional route, going to college, getting a business degree, working sort of in corporate America, and just doing sales, doing post-sales stuff. Some companies that were very technical, some that weren't. And I found myself not, happy, okay, content, but not totally satisfied with that life and sort of the potential there. And so several years ago, going on like, I want to say eight or 9 years ago, started my own company, which was at the time a woodworking, very high-end custom woodworking company. And here in the Boston area with a good friend of mine, scaled that to almost $1 million in revenue, and had a lot of success. And a lot of that was due to the fact that I came across this funding system that somebody else introduced me to, which was credit card stacking, 0% interest business funding, right? It's got a couple different ways you can call it. But essentially, I kind of fell into this through some connections in the entrepreneurial world. Found out that I could get, $50,000, $100,000, sometimes more, every 6 months, every 12 months from a real bank, and that I could use 0% money to fund my operations, which, in the woodworking space, a lot of times it was buying and holding inventory. It was marketing spend. It was cash flow issues from month to month. We had on payroll at a certain point, we had something like 8 or 9 people on payroll. So, so the 0% funding came in handy, and I know a lot of other folks using it for many, many other different reasons, which we can get into later. But yeah, that's kind of how it started. And then, from there, I learned a lot in the woodworking thing, not just the operational side of it, but also in marketing and what have you. And then I decided to branch out now into funding, since it's something I learned really well while, doing it for myself, and having learned from some of the best, in this space in business consulting. So yeah, that's kind of where it started. And so now I'm a couple years into it here at Autoscale-Digital, and helped over 250 businesses at this point. We've raised over $15 million, or helped those companies fund themselves over $15 million. And yeah, the sky's the limit. We're looking forward to a lot
Congratulations.
more. Yeah, thank you.
I'd like to know your why though behind it. We have a story background that I think as a father, I know you're a father, I am as well one. There's the responsibility to be able to take care of your family at a long distance future site.
Mm-hmm.
So if you would tell me a little bit more of your why on developing this offer for entrepreneurs, whoever is listening out there, get more of an idea of what's the why behind it.
Sure. Yeah. Well, yeah, just starting out, I am a dad, like you said. I've got 6 wonderful kids, all under the age of 12. So it's a lot. That's a big part of the why, the other part of it is I love small business. I love entrepreneurship. I think it's the engine of the world, definitely the engine of America. And I want people to experience what I've experienced, which is freedom. Some would say, having your own business can end up not being the opposite of freedom, but I think that's just a matter of how you set it up. I think if there's any business that I could have ended up a slave of, it was the woodworking business. And instead, me and my partner set it up in such a way that it actually ended up giving us a lot more freedom in our lives, a lot more flexibility to be with our kids and do the things that we love and travel with our families and do all that stuff, right? So I think it's all a matter of just setting things up right and kind of what your expectations are going in. But yeah, I do this because I want to help entrepreneurs be successful. I want them to be able to scale their business as far as they want to. And I know from personal experience, the number one blocker for most companies that prevents them from growing, prevents them from getting where they want to be, is lack of capital. That is like, they say it takes money to make money, and it's true. You need somewhere. You need to start somewhere. There are very few things that you can start without some bit of capital, right? And especially if you want to take it to the next level, if you have a system that's working, you have a sales funnel, marketing set up, you know how to deliver a service or product, flawlessly to your customers, then all you need is a little bit of cash, and you can just scale that thing, double, triple, quadruple. The sky's the limit. So I want to help people get there. I want to help people succeed in their dreams and scale their businesses to the moon.
Awesome. I like that. That's all about networking. That's a win-win situation for anyone who is looking to tap into other people's money. Let me ask you this. What or how were you feeling when you were able to help your first client?
That was so that was actually that was a thrill, because this actually I only started Autoscale a couple of years ago, but prior to that I was still kind of full time, you could say, in the woodworking business. And but at that time I'd already started doing some side consulting for people in my network, other entrepreneurs that I know, especially in blue collar type services and production. And and yeah, they were experiencing problems similar to me, and so kind of just by word of mouth, I did some networking and helped fund some of the people I know. And so one of the first guys I met through the grapevine, as they say, was a guy doing real estate investment. He'd gotten out of some kind of blue collar thing. It was like plumbing or electrical. I forget exactly what it was. He'd parlayed that into, he worked his butt off for years, and then eventually parlayed that into becoming a real estate investor, owning several properties here in the Boston area, several multi-families. And, he just, again, having cash on hand ready to go, to be able to, put a down payment, to be able to fund a fix and flip, whatever it
Right.
might
That's a
be.
great business model.
Yeah. I mean, and there's always opportunities in real estate, but if you don't have the cash ready when the time comes, you can miss out. Right. And that was his problem. He was kind of tapped out. He just had his hand in too many pies, as they say. And he just needed, he needed an extra source of cash, an extra source of capital. And so, and this was a while back. This guy, and he had all his ducks in a row. He had great credit. He had a lot of, great proof of income. And so he was able to fund himself well over 100. I think the first round, it was like 120,000 in 0% interest funding on over a couple
Lovely.
of LLCs that he had. And yeah, we're still in touch. We still network and what have you. I haven't gotten into real estate myself yet, but that definitely in the works, in the plans for the future.
Mm. Well, with that type of funding, who doesn't, right? Who doesn't want that opportunity to tap into being able to leverage strategic debt, right? This is strategic debt. This is not for vacationing or stuff like that, even though it can be used maybe for business purposes or any type of leverageability on that side. So I'm going to go ahead and there's a great website for whoever does SEO as well and is interested in content creation and wants to put out their business in the market so that ideas flow and the demand is met. It's called Answer the Public. I don't know if you've heard of it or not in the past. I'm a great fan. There's a list of different questions the public has around credit card stacking. I'd like to go through that. The first that I'm going to throw out at you is credit card stacking. If you were to give us a short answer, very straight to the point, what is it?
Sure. Yeah. So credit card stacking is a process by which you go out and get 0% interest credit lines, credit cards from the banks, from real top-notch banks. We're talking Bank of America, Chase, Amex, all these guys, right? You go out and get the credit from them. You utilize it however you need to in your business. Like I said, it could be investing in real estate. It could be marketing spend. It could be cash flow. It could be all kinds of stuff, right? And you take that, you invest it into your business, and then every 6 months or so, you can go out and reapply for a new round of funding on the same LLC or even on multiple LLCs, right? Multiple business entities. And what you do is kind of shift your cash. So let's say I invested in a fix and flip, $50,000 that I got in 0% funding. I invested in a fix and flip, and I thought it was going to take 6 months, but it's actually, taking me a little bit longer. And that card that I put it on is coming on the promotional 12-month period at 0% interest is coming to an end, right? What I can do is, I still have, $30,000 to pay down on this card. What I do is I do a new round of funding, right? 6 months after the original round. And I basically balance transfer that money onto a new 0% card, right? So in that way, you're kind of stacking your credit. That's kind of the main gist of it. Is like you have the 0% credit for a certain promotional period. It could be 6 months. Usually it's more like 12, 18 months. Then you transfer it over to new 0% interest credit lines, and assuming you haven't paid off within that promotional period. And so you kind of just keep this wheel going, where you fund yourself, you invest in your business, you kind of maintain your credit, you maintain your business in good standing, and then you go through the funding again, and kind of keep this going. And in that way, you always have access to this 0% money to be able to fund your business.
Right. Okay. And how are businesses able to leverage this? Is it something that every business can tap into, or when it comes to the credit card and I stacking it, what type of companies are the best?
Hmm.
And I would say this: if I would like to tomorrow get running with your services,
Hmm.
why are you the best one out there?
Okay. So, so why are we the best, and um, and what are the sort of the best businesses to do this in? Right. All right. So why are we the best? One, because we can only take on. We're a small company, right? I have a few funding coaches here. We have a few people, in marketing and in sales, and we're a tight knit group. But everyone super experienced. Everyone at least 10 to 15 years in their respective industry. Everyone super professional and experienced. There's not we don't have we haven't had a lot of turnover here. Everyone is used to working together. We Because of that are able to, uh, as opposed to like a larger company, which there are larger funding companies out there, we're able to do things at a lower cost and in a much more, I would say, expedited manner, where you're not waiting around for results, for 6 months or whatever. We get things done quick. We can only work with so many clients per month. We actually cap ourselves at 10 clients per month so that we can provide the best service for each one, and not overextend ourselves. And in that way, we we provide, I would say, a better service than probably anyone you're going to find out there. Also, in terms of price, a lot of these funding companies they'll withhold the whole process. Like, they won't tell you what goes into the funding. They'll just kind of go out and do it for you. They'll get you a decent amount of capital, and um, but when you need more, you have to go back to them and pay again. Right? This is kind of, they gotta hook you. And so it's like every 6 months, every 12 months, whenever you need the capital, you go back and they charge you another 10% or whatever fee for the money that they get you, right? So why are we the best? Because we give you options, right? We're a very experienced team. I have funding coaches with relationships in all the different banks, um, and very experienced folks who know what they're talking about. And we give you options, right? We tell you, if you want to just pay a flat fee up front, you can pay a flat fee up front. That way you control the cost, you know what you're getting into it for. If you wanted to pay us on performance, totally an option. You can also pay us on performance. So on the back end, after we've gotten you a certain amount of funding, right, in that first round of funding, then you pay us a percentage of that on the back end, and based on the
That's
result that
great.
we get you. Yeah. So that's kind of why I think we're the best. And what are the best businesses to have, like, that this works for? I guess really it could be anything. It works for anything. The key is how you set up your business to begin with, and
Mm,
and how you set up your bank account with whatever bank you're trying to establish a relationship with, right? So, a real estate,
exactly.
exactly right. So, a real estate investor, right? A bank's going to look at them a lot more risky than a real estate consultant, if that makes sense. Or a marketing agency is going to be a lot more riskier proposition for the bank to lend money to than a marketing consultant. You kind of get the gist of what I'm saying, right? It all kind of depends on how you frame what you do, when you create the business, and the business entity, I mean, and when you set up that bank account.
And you know what? That's the main thing that I enjoyed from the course. They you have a school course I
Hmm.
went through, and it's very black and white. And the way that you take through the process is digestible. I totally recommend it. And of course, if that's the course side of things, and of course, as well, you're listening to this podcast, you're getting to know what you'd be able to tap into if you were to fill up one of the forms. Now, I tend to look at for the best credit card stacking options in 2024, and then kind of like travel points when it comes to flights,
Hmm.
miles, cashbacks. If I use a certain amount, how much of that can I get back, and can I use that maybe to pay any type of bill. Those type of things are very interesting. When it comes also as a marketing service agency, being able to tap into budget, there's certain cards as well that play a great game on that.
Hmm. Oh yeah. There are some phenomenal reward systems out there, especially, Amex, Chase, or some of the more popular ones. I can tell you from personal experience. I mentioned that I have 6 kids, right? And I'm obviously married. So there's 8 of us in this family. And we all just went to my mother's homeland, which is Italy, over in Europe. Or we all went this summer for my cousin's wedding over there. And when I tell you, I mean, this is crazy, but I flew the whole family over there on credit card points. Uh, I mean, that's a lot of credit card points. And
Mm-hmm.
that's just because you have to build a system where, you sign up for certain cards, you make sure you get, a lot of them have like a introductory reward. So like, get 40,000 bonus points if you spend, $2,000 within the first 3 months or whatever. Right. And you make sure you get all those bonuses, and then you just kind of stick to your regular expenses. You kind of stick with the cards that give you the best bang for your buck. In my experience, it's been Chase. But it also depends on like what airlines you use, or do you really want travel points, or do you want cash back, or other types of rewards? So it's different for everybody, and it's a landscape that is constantly changing. But our funding coaches stay on top of all that stuff.
That's where the most value is at, I would think. Personally, whenever I buy a product or I turn into a network partner, being able to leverage the certainty of it through the process, I think is the most important thing. I do that with my clients. Maybe you have experienced already part of it. You will continue to uh, scale as we move forward. And the way that I look at this is, if whoever is listening out there, if you're looking to use other people's money, which is morally correct, there's a lot of controversy out there. If you use it, and we're going to tap into it, I'm going to ask you this question, Daniel. Uh, if you tap into it, there's a lot of ways of moving your business forward, if not the only way of doing it correctly. And the standard of morality behind that is well established. There's a no controversial thing if known well. What do you think?
Yeah, there's such a debate on this topic. There's the Dave Ramseys of the world who kind of shy away from people using credit, and then there's what's his name, Robert Kiyosaki's of the world, who like have like $1 billion worth of debt, but they're somehow gazillionaires. um, so it's really an interesting conversation. From a moral perspective.
Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, from a moral perspective, for me, I mean, I'm personally a Christian, and I have utilized debt in sort of a lot of my business, other people's money, meaning the bank's money, right? Debt in as a way to fund my businesses, um, and build a life that I want, right? Obviously,
Preach it, brother.
the moral part of it comes in actually paying back your debts, right? So this isn't free money. It's not a grant, right? Like this is a loan at the end of the day. It's a 0% interest, which is great, but it's still money that you're taking from somebody else, right? So it's definitely for folks who have a plan, who you're starting a business, or you already have something going, and you have a plan, and you know the results that you can get. If I just could put another $5,000 a month into marketing, or if I could have $50,000 on hand for cash flow stuff for make sure everybody gets paid every month, or if I could um, just have $80,000 available for the next time this real estate investment opportunity comes up. That's all I need to kind of take things to the next level. That's what we're talking about. Is like what you're going to do with it. You have a system. How you're going to pay it back, right? That's the big thing with using other people's money. It's 0% interest, which is amazing. Like that
Lovely.
you can borrow someone's money and not pay them interest on it, but you do got to pay it back at the end of the day, right?
And that's
So
where I was going to tap into, and I'm going to just drop it directly. And there's a lot of motion on the what's the risk involved. People say that there's a lot of risk, and then people get stuck into that, and I just don't want to tap into it, kind of thing.
Mhm.
Uh, what would you tell them?
Yeah, I mean, risk is a part of life, man. I mean, we're in business. Some business, they what do they say? 90% of businesses fail within 10 years or whatever. I mean, there's all kinds of statistics like that out there. But like, if you don't try, obviously you got to take calculated risk, right? You don't take. We're not out there betting. We're not out there at the casino, with our 0% credit cards, right? Um,
Exactly.
this is taking a calculated risk, knowing that the return is going to be greater than the risk, or expecting that, anyways. And so, yeah, I mean, another thing that comes up, and I'll just bring this up proactively about risk, is like, oh, what about my credit score? Because I mean, you have to have good credit to even get into this, right? But what happens to your credit score once you get into it? Well, the great thing about business 0% interest business credit is that if you're using the right banks, it doesn't report to your personal credit. So all those balances that you're carrying, $50,000, $100,000, while you're doing your fix and flip, or while you're holding that, I had an e-com guy who would buy like $100,000 worth of inventory for his Amazon store and hold it for like, the whole 12-month period and then pay it all back. I mean, so it sounds like a big risk, right? But like if you have a system and that system is working, it's not really that risky. It's calculated, and that there's going to be a great reward, and you can hold those balances indeterminately because they're on business credit cards, which don't reflect on your personal credit.
Right. And not depending on multitude of bureaus. I know there's three, right? There's
Yep.
Equifax, there's the main one, Experian, and
Mm-hmm.
TransUnion.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of questions in the demographical interest and the demand. People asking if one bureau credit stacking or the other. What would you say to that?
Oh man, I mean, it really depends from one person to the next. It depends on each person's individual credit profile. But we do take care. So, our funding coach may give you all kinds of different instructions to be able to set your business up right, to get a banking relationship going with the right bank, et cetera. And then when we get to the point of actually doing these applications, they're going to tell you, okay, when you apply to these two cards, freeze your TransUnion account so that nobody can run that. And then when you run this other card, freeze your Equifax and turn on your TransUnion. And so there's a whole sort of strategy behind that, and which bureaus to have frozen depending on what applications you're doing at what time. But this is why we're here to sort of consult you through the process.
That's awesome. That's exactly why networking is the most powerful tool for any business developer out there. In the age of information, being able to plan ahead with a team of men that or women that are out there interested in growth, specifically putting in the effort, it's out there. So there's no morality issues on that. If you use it in the right way, yes, you're using other people's money. And yes, there's a 0% APR, and it gives you enough opportunity to pay it back. And if you use it well, if it's, as mentioned, it's strategic debt, you already are producing money. You just need to put more gasoline to it, because eventually, with what Daniel has, it's not about the money, because you're going to have the money delivered to you. He's been able to do this constantly.
Mm-hmm.
And once you have the money, it's more about what you're going to do with it. Most important thing. I saw some of your testimonials. I was giggling. They're great.
Mm-hmm.
There's other questions here that I'd like to address specifically for people in the community who read it, on how credit card stacking works whenever the method is applied. I know that there was a lot of the map already given. Most important thing is being able to have somebody that coaches you through. learning the process as you go. It's because it's a done for you, right? Or done with you. What type of product is it? But if if you were to share that with people on the school, what do you have on school, and then what do you have when it comes to the coaching side?
Yeah. So on school, we have a course that people can access. It's, I think over 3 hours of content. Basically walking through the fundamentals of this process of how your personal credit has to be, which generally speaking, it just has to be good, right? You want to be, I would say 680 plus, more like 700 plus, really though. I mean, if you're 680, you can maybe do a little bit of credit repair, bump it up to 700, and then but you really want to be around 700 plus. So you want to have a great personal credit profile, because that is the foundation of everything. Then from there, we walk you through how to create a business. A lot of you may already have one, but you can also have, by the way, multiple business entities, LLCs, even if they're not actually doing anything. You can use them to fund on. So I have customers who have like 3 or 4 different LLCs that they fund on multiple times a year and get like $200,000, $300,000 in 0% funding, right? So we walk you through the business creation portion. We walk you through the business credit, which is something that's very not well understood. It's not something they teach at school, what business credit is. And we walk you through this actual process of 0%, credit stacking. So that's what the course walks you through. However, you can only put so much into a course. And at the end of the day, it's a customized process. So we got to tailor it for, as much as possible for each individual person to maximize the output and get as much 0% funding as possible for each one. So that's where the consulting comes into play. So the school group has a fantastic course, and anyone, I think, if they just walk through the course, could probably get some decent amount of funding on their own, potentially, if they follow it piece by piece or step by step. But you're going to get a lot better results with the consulting, just because we have the coaches who are going to, it's more of like a done with you in the sense, because like I can't create a business entity for you. I can't go and, open a bank account for you. So there's some components of it that are on the client, right? But we kind of guide you through the whole process and handhold the whole way and get you that first round of funding. And then once you've been through it and you've established some business, banking relationships with the banks that matter and what have you, then you kind of know it. You can't really unlearn it, right? Like once you've gone through it, and you'll have the course to support you. If you ever forget any of the details, you'll have the course to always fall back on once you get into round 2, round 3, round 4 of funding.
That's the game. Having the Rolodex of the business managers with the coaching, with the educational side on all the data points you need to execute a step-by-step accountability. That's, I think that what divides from most of the other companies out there. And then if you add a plus to that, there's this friendly approach when it comes to of course, the honoraries of services and connection. I think it's leverageable capital that we should all look into whenever, if you're using credit cards or not. Do you have other options, maybe loan types of not just credit, or is it just limited to credit card stacking? If it is, why? And if not, what else is there?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, so it can actually get pretty big, right? We start out with the credit card stacking because that's the low-hanging fruit, especially for folks who have, business that doesn't have a ton of assets yet, or a business, it's relatively new, or they're just getting starting their new business. It's all going to be based on your personal credit profile and not so much on your business credit because you haven't actually built that yet. Now, down the road, and this is why we put it in the module, this is why we put the business credit module in the course. That's more planning for the future, right? So like once you've built this business machine and you've got assets and you've got your business actually has an actual credit score, and some relationships and what have you, then we can talk about getting into lines of credit. Now, these aren't going to be 0% interest, but they can definitely be very low interest business lines of credit, and even like SBA loans. We've gotten some huge SBA loans for folks, or help them get huge SBA loans. So yeah, there's definitely a lot of tools at our disposal in terms of funding. But I think the best place to start is the 0% interest. That's where you kind of that's kind of the foundation of everything, I think.
Mm, okay. And then there's this other question here, the difference between business credit card stacking or business, not business, personal credit
hmm
card stacking. What would you say to that?
So yeah, the personal stuff. There are 0% interest personal cards as well, right? But they're not business cards, meaning they're whatever goes onto those cards, any balances you're carrying or what have you, is going to reflect on your personal credit score. And the reason that's important is because if you have high utilization on your personal, so let's say you have $50,000 worth of credit that you have access to, on credit cards. Let's say this, I don't know, just to keep things simple. You have 5 different cards on the personal side, and each one, about $10,000 limit on each one. So you have access to $50,000 worth of personal credit. However, if you were to use $25,000 of that credit, you would be at 50% utilization, right? You're utilizing 50% of the available credit to you. And that is not a good place to be. We actually, when we start the program, a lot of folks have decent credit score, maybe in the 700s, but it's not uncommon that they come in with, on the personal side, carrying, 20, 25% utilization, in which case we have to have them pay down, a good amount. You want to be under 15, more like 10% range when we start doing the applications in order to maximize the funding. So that's the thing about, there are 0% personal cards, but they reflect on your personal credit. And they also are tied to you directly from a liability standpoint, if you catch my drift. So anything to the business is going to be, you're going to at least have some protection through your LLC and the legal protection that affords you, right, with purchases and all of that.
That removes risk from the table, right?
Yes, very much so. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I don't want to cut you short there. But there's a lot of topics behind the risk involved. And when it comes to it reducing risk, and this is why I love it, because you're putting your family assets apart from this type of credit.
Exactly.
Is that right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's the whole point of starting an LLC. And why don't we all just do business in our personal names, right? Like, because we want to protect ourselves and our family's assets. Like, I don't want my house to get wrapped up in a lawsuit because some customer sues me or whatever, you know what I mean? So you got to keep everything separate. And that's why we create business entities like LLCs, which are kind of the easiest, most common, and most useful business entities, right? And so getting business credit through an LLC is going to give you that added layer of protection that keeps your personal life protected from, any potential. You never know what's out. I mean, there's all kinds of things that you're not foreseeing that can happen in business. All kinds of, I know a guy who invested a lot of money that wasn't his, debt money, into a Ponzi scheme, and did not knowing what it was, obviously. And that money from one day to the next just disappeared, and he was left holding the bag. And
Sounds like crypto automations.
yeah, right. There's all kinds of scams out there. There's all kinds of people looking to get you, like just customers who are just looking to find an easy target that they can, bring litigation against. There's all kinds of, silly things out there, but you just want to be protected and have a business entity between your personal life and your business life.
Exactly. And having it well structured from the beginning allows you to tap into higher credits Instead of it being 100, maybe 150, there's ways of going about it. If you add consulting to it, if it's any type of venture, it's more security for the lenders, for the bank relationship managers. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. You can't overstate how important it is to have that layer of protection, and also just not to have things reflect on your personal credit, because it really just limits you in getting more credit, right? Because now the bank's like, wait, this guy's already carrying, 50% of his credit's already being used. We can't give him more, right? So you don't want to carry that on the personal side. Now, if your utilization's, 50%, 80% on the business side, well, that's not reflecting on your personal credit, so it's not hurting you.
There you go. There you go. So, okay, let's say that I want to start today and I want to fund my business. What do I need to do? Because I'd like, and there is, if you'd like a PDF, you're going to have a PDF sent to your email. So if you fill up the form, uh, we're going to send you a PDF on the step-by-steps on what's to do next. It's, if you could give us a little bit of an insight on that, how does that look like?
Sure, yeah. So it's a pretty straightforward onboarding process. Like I said, we kind of go through a consultation. Usually you spend some time on the phone, make sure that there's a legitimate business case, um, and that you have, solid credit profile to be able to get started. Honestly, if it's not perfect, it doesn't have to be perfect, right? We just need, like I said, 680. If you're around there, we can maybe get started, get you into some credit repair, get some inquiries removed, as long as it's not anything too damaging on your credit report. And then
How fast are the inquiries removed?
usually depends on the bureau, honestly, on which, with Experian, we can get them removed so fast, within, days or weeks. But sometimes on like TransUnion and Experian, they're a little bit slow, can be a couple months, but yeah, relatively quickly. We can get inquiries removed, and that's another thing. You should do a credit sweep every time you do a round of funding. You're going to get approved for some lines of credit, and for others you're not. And for the ones that you're not, we want to get those inquiries knocked off our credit report as soon as possible. But then you want to wait 6 months to do your next round of funding, because basically at 6 months and 1 day, those old inquiries don't matter anymore to the bank. So you can do that next round of funding at 6 months and 1 day, and they won't look at that, right? So that's kind of the strategy. But sorry, going back to your question, which was, sorry, remind me. The question was about how to get started. So essentially, we have a conversation, see if you're a good fit for the program, if it could work for you, right? And then, like I said, we offer the 2 payment options. You can pay us up front if you want to control the cost, or you can pay us on the back end once we've done what we said we were going to do, and you pay on performance, right? And it's a percentage of the credit that we are able to get you funded. Now, then the onboarding process, once that's decided, we get sign of an agreement, and we send you an intake form, which is basically all the details that we need to know about you and your business in order to start building a strategic plan, funding plan for you, which one of our funding coaches will do. And so I'll get that intake form from you, hook you up with one of our coaches, and they'll take it from there in terms of fulfilling the service. Part of that will be, obviously, we need an up-to-date credit report, just to make sure everything is in line with what you're telling us, and to be clear that on how much we can actually help you. So yeah, and then usually, like I said, if you have already have an existing business, you already have some good banking relationships, you already have your checking with, let's say you already have your checking account with Chase, for example, and you have a couple Bank of America credit cards on the personal side and Amex on the personal side, so you already kind of have some relationships, right? And you have good credit over 700, and kind of all the ducks kind of line up in a row. Well, in that case, I mean, we can be funding within a couple weeks. Within a month, you can be seeing a pretty good round of funding. Other folks, they got to pay down a little bit of their utilization on the personal side. Maybe they're at 20% utilization. We want to get them down to like 15 or 10 percent, or they may need to knock off a few inquiries in order to bump up their credit score. So it can take a little bit longer, but I would say on average, 30 to 60 days is a pretty normal period of time in which you can expect to get results.
And you're pretty conservative in the market. Anywhere from 14 days, you're looking at the funding. So you're not over promising, you're over delivering, which is really good.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of other questions out there, but the most important one I think right now, Daniel, is credit card stacking legal?
Yeah, it's legal. I mean, I don't know how to. It's a funny question to answer because I don't have like a document that I can show you saying, yeah, this is legal, certified, go ahead. But essentially, all you're doing is applying for credit cards with a bank, which like millions of people are doing every day. Over, I don't know how many banks there are out there, but this whole country runs on credit, mortgages, business loans, car loans, personal credit cards. So why wouldn't your business, right? This is like a pretty straightforward thing. I mean, you're just applying for credit cards. There's nothing shady about it. There's nothing sketchy.
You're mentioning all type of credit, social securities, all that. Yes. So great. With the information that we have now, it's just a matter of just get the PDF. You'll see the step-by-step. And then from there, professionals will be looking at the options that you have, and you'll be tapping into the biggest potential out there with what you have at the best, the cost out there of it. I've seen these type of projects go upwards, of 15K, 20K up front because you're getting 100. You're not sure you're getting 100 because there's a lot of other checks and balances that sometimes you're just not there yet, but you already cashed out. And it hurts to see it as a sales agent, as a sales trainer. Of course, whenever you market these type of offers and you help teams develop that, it does help those who already have a standard operating procedure in their business developments and the way that revenues pour in. Of course, you just add that percentage in and you're able to pay it out easily. But if you're struggling to pay, like you mentioned earlier, Daniel, you're struggling to pay the people in your team, maybe some softwares that you have. There's a lot of softwares for quote unquote building up credit. I'm going to ask you about that as well. What do you think? There's ways of investing, and it's not a Ponzi scheme, but that has it's part of networking. It's part of finding good coaches, like in this side of business funding, that they tell you the step by step. They give you the blueprint, and you just follow that accordingly, and you'll see developments. There's a lot of testimonials that he's been able to share. But yeah, going back to that software business credit development, what do you think about that?
So I'm not sure. I mean, I know there are some, software companies out there that, you kind of just plug in your info, and I'm not a huge fan. I prefer to do things a little bit more intentionally and strategically, which is why we have actual funding coaches who will look at your specific, you're not just one of a million people signing up on a website and putting in your social security number, right? Like, you're working one-on-one with an expert who's going to say, no, you want to pay this down, you want to get this inquiry removed, and then, you want to open up a bank account here, and you want to make sure you have a personal Amex card before you apply for this business Amex card. And, oh, you're running an e-com business? Well, Amex has these awesome cards for e-com store owners, right? Like I mentioned that guy who had the Amazon store. That guy was paying his employee. He got so much cash back from Amex cards, and he was doing so much business that he was able to pay his employees with cash back, which is insane, right? So there's a lot of potential out there, but I kind of tend to not rate any particular software that I haven't used, and honestly, I'm not super familiar with everything that's out there. The ones I've seen, I haven't been super impressed with, like, the results. Because I think it's better just do it manually, and
Yeah. Learn
not
to
trust
do
your
it with
faith.
coaches.
Exactly, and not trust your fate to some random algorithm or whatever.
That's right. So, like I mentioned earlier, credit card stacking PDF, fill up the form below. Credit card stacking method for it is inside, and you're going to get the best companies at it. The best company that I know of is with Daniel Noe, Autoscale-Digital. Is that right? Autoscale-Digital. I think that scaling process is in it. Where does the concept of Autoscale come from?
Yeah, when I was trying to come up with a name for the business, I thought like, you know, everyone wants a business that just grows, right? You want it to be as automated and you want it to grow as much as possible on its own. And obviously you got to put in the hard work up front and what have you. But once you build systems that work and that are repeatable, then it's just a matter of, hiring the right people, setting things up, and managing things, right? And not having to have your hand in every cookie jar of the business, right? So that was kind of what I was thinking, was like, how automatic scaling, right? That's what we want. And the only way to do that is funding. You need money. You need to have money to make money. And so I thought, like, what easier way to scale a business than through funding, right? So I thought auto scale just kind of made sense in my head at the moment, and I kind of ran with that. But yeah, it's Autoscale-Digital, autoscale-digital.com. And you can see, like, Kyle mentioned, we have a bunch of testimonials on the website. We have some video content or kind of explains a lot of things that we talked about today. Some general sort of bullet points on like the process and what you can expect from working with us. And there's a bunch of links all over the place if you want to book a call. um,
That's right. If you're
exactly.
hearing out there, there's a link that you're going to be seeing in the PDF. Learn how to get unlimited 0% interest funding to start or to grow your business and to scale it to the moon.
Exactly. That's the name of the game. So, we work with business owners, entrepreneurs, investors of all kinds. We worked with real estate, Forex, bot trading, and then everything from marketing agencies to real estate investors to e-com store owners to done for you sort of coaches and consultants. I mean, we worked with everybody across the board. Blue collar, HVAC contractors, guys running their own electrician shops. Yeah, you name it. We worked with all types of businesses, and the funding works for everybody. So if you're any of those types of business owners or entrepreneurs, give us a call. It's the worst thing that can happen is that we have a nice conversation, networking, where I learn about your business and you learn about some funding. And if it's not for you, it's not for you, and that's fine. But at least we can network and sort of get to know each other, and who knows down the road, what will come of that. But this really is an opportunity that not a lot of people know about, and it'll give you for sure a leg up on your competition. If you're like a small tech company, the other guy starting a small tech company like yours down the street probably doesn't know about this. And so if you can invest $20,000 in ads before he does, you're going to win, right? That's just the name of the game. So we can help anybody with funding. We just got to get you set up right, and then you'll be able to fund yourself. Yeah, like Kyle said, unlimited funding, 0% interest for as long as you need it, as long as your business needs it. And we usually see awesome results. Usually, honestly, obviously we can only work with the people who are qualified, right? So that goes without being said. But for the people who are qualified and set up in the right way, we tend to generally see anywhere from $50,000 to $150,000 in business funding at 0% interest in that first round of funding.
Wow, that's great. For my veteran out there, whole group of veterans, I saw the James testimonial. That was great. Is there any type of like federal union type of game for them that they could leverage because of what they did for the nation? I miss a lot of information on that side, and this is just a personal question for my network.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, what type of potential game is there for veterans?
So yeah, there's all kinds of programs out there. I mean, I don't get into the specifics of, for every different group of people out there. I'm kind of niched really much into this 0% business funding, but I do know that there are all kinds of, like I know, for example, buddies of mine coming out of the service who have gotten really great mortgages, for example, and access to loans that maybe other people wouldn't get access to because of their service. Usually it's through some kind of federal agency though. They might give you like for example, you want to buy a house and it's like, okay, well, don't worry about a down payment, and you get a super low interest rate or at least lower than market value interest rate. And you don't have to put any money down and we'll get you in a house, So as long as you can afford the payment, you're good. So there's all kinds of stuff out there for the, our guys in the armed services and gals. Not to mention all the programs around education and being able to go to university and get a diploma and all of that stuff, right? So, but yeah, there are definitely specialty programs. We don't specialize too much in that specifically because we kind of tend to stick with the more traditional business stuff. But we have all kinds of connections at this point in the funding world. So if I don't know it, somebody I know for sure does.
That's
Yeah.
that's the thing.
Yeah.
That's the platform right there.
And if
Let
I
me,
don't know somebody who does, then one of
mhm,
my funding coaches for sure knows somebody who does.
mhm. Uh, I'm just gonna add this, ladies and gents. James did get $70,000 with 0% interest on it.
Mm-hmm. He did. Yeah, he was awesome. So James great guy. And if I remember correctly, I think he was like former Wall Street. He was like definitely a finance guy, high finance guy. Knew his stuff. It was actually a little bit intimidating when he told me that when we first got on the call. I was like, oh, this guy probably knows more than me, right? But he actually didn't know anything about 0% interest funding and, the whole concept of OPM, using other people's money and business credit card stacking. And so he was kind of blown away. He's like, oh, this is like a system that you can put in place and just kind of fund yourself as every 6 months or whatever, as much as you need. I'm like, yeah, that's what it is. And, he'd been wanting to start a nonprofit and start getting into real estate. And so, yeah, we had a great first round of funding, got him 70,000 in 0% interest. And I'm sure he's been keeping it up though. That was a while ago. So he's probably already done a couple more rounds of funding since then. And that's the thing, we want to teach people to fish. We help you do it the first time. We help you cast that rod, that first round of funding, or cast the line, I should say. And then we give you
I like
access
that
to the course.
concept.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not here to keep you coming back to me to bleed you dry, and take 10% of your funding every time. I'm not trying to take advantage of people. I'm trying to help people. So we help you through that first round. We help you get all your foundation stuff set up right, your personal, your business stuff set up right. We get you that first round of funding, and then you'll have access to the course for as long as you need it. And you now have acquired as a business owner a new skill where when you need money, you know where to go and get it.
Like a pot of gold. Just be careful how to use it.
That's the caveat. Exactly. Make sure you're not spending it on stupid things like cars, vacations. We want to use it for actual business purposes that generate a return on investment.
And there's a lot of space for it in the affiliate marketing side of things. Could you develop a little bit more behind the Bob testimonial? I saw that he as well got the highest funding. Is that the highest that people have got, or?
Yeah, he got an insane amount of funding. So Bob Grant, yeah, he's been in affiliate marketing for a long time, and he's just one of those guys who knows how to run ads, and he just knows how to run a profitable ad campaign and set up a video sales letter and make a page that converts, and he knows how to pick the right services and products to promote. he's just got that skill, and he does. I mean, he makes a ton of money. But he, another guy who, was using, he kind of grown his own business, uh, how do you say, kind of pulled up from his bootstraps, right? And he kind of bootstrapped it all the way to a very successful business. But he was, if I could leverage other people's money, why wouldn't I, right? And so he already had a system that was working. He'd done it so many times. He's like, I know when an ad campaign is going to work, when it's not, and he wins a lot more than he loses. So he started putting money into his affiliate marketing, campaigns, his ads, and he just exploded. So yeah, a great success story. I encourage anybody to watch his video on he's a very simple, humble guy, but he crushes it. And he got, in the first round, he got 113 grand, I believe it was. It was about 113,000. And then I think he did another like micro round of funding 6 months later, which we didn't help with, but he told me about it later. And I think he got like another 80,000 that round. So in that first year, he got, or in that first really 6-7 months, he got almost 200,000. It was like 195 or something. Yeah, it was
that's huge.
Yeah, great job by him.
Mm-hmm. Well, for more on Daniel, you can find him in YouTube at Daniel Autoscale. And as mentioned, just follow the link. You'll see the PDF. You'll see the step-by-step. You can book a call. You can add this to your network and start running, because not to say it's slow, we all have to develop in a quicker pace, specifically in the age of information. It's easier to establish business. Noe is a passionate entrepreneur that allows others through education to reach higher funding and as well scale it with automations. The way that it's done, it's for you to discover. The path is set clear. There's a lot of it for you to unfold in. If you apply it, you'd start making a lot of revenues from it. What's the fastest? Let me ask it in this light. How fast did any of your clients produce revenues money after that?
Yeah, so that's a little bit trickier to answer just because I don't always, we kind of get them the funding and then they're kind of off on their own to some degree back in their business. But, I mean, I had some guys who had like a deadline. We don't really work with deadlines, but, in their mind, they had a deadline where it was like, I need this funding, within 30 days because I have a real estate opportunity or what have you. And we managed to get it done in time. Obviously, they have to have the credit and everything set up right, in order to make that happen and move that fast. But it is possible, for sure. So, I mean, we've funded people within, we've gone to the application stage because there's a few stages here, right? 90% of the work, though, is that preparation stage where we're making sure your business is set up right. We're making sure your personal credit's optimized. We're looking at your business credit and just making sure all of our ducks in a row. We're creating a strategic plan, funding plan for you. That's 90% of the work. Then the fun part, the actual application process, that's like a one-day thing. You might spread it out over a couple of days or whatever, but that's the easy part and the fun part. Now, that being said, some people have gotten to that funding day within 7-8 days. That's not normal, but if you've got stellar personal credit, you've got a business that's crushing it, and you have all the proof of income in the world, and you can really,
and you have the accelerator, the 0% funding accelerator program.
Exactly. Yeah. So they just had a great profile, and all they needed was a little bit of guidance from us, and within 7-8 days, we were already, funding their business. And so that's, not typical. I would say more people are in that 30 to 45 day range, maybe 60 on the out, but we guarantee results. So if we say that you're qualified to work for our program and that we want to work with you, we guarantee that you'll at least get $20,000 within 90 days at the very, very least. That's really lowballing it, honestly, but we have to give some kind of guarantee, right? That like you're going to get results from this. But like I said, most customers are $50,000, $100,000, within 30 to 60 days is pretty common.
That's lovely. And for us to end it in this note, we're about 1 hour in. I was shooting for 90 minutes for the public to, kind of sit back and whatever task you're doing. Thank you for being here with me and with Noe, hearing into this. This is great. It's knowledge that if you're looking for, you already have a lot of golden pebbles, nuggets that you could take home and apply. But kind of like to put it in an ending note, what's the old way of doing this and what's the new way?
Yes. I actually created a whole video about this on my YouTube channel. There's the old way, the traditional way of funding, which is, there's different things. Unfortunately for a lot of people, the traditional way of funding is putting stuff on personal credit, personal loans, borrowing from their a home equity line of credit, so borrowing against their house, which is insane. Putting stuff on personal credit cards. A lot of people do that. A lot of people, will do things a little bit better and, try to get actual business loans, which can be 14, 15% interest these days. Or they, they'll borrow money from family and friends, which, that's putting your relationships at a big risk, right? I mean, if you lose $20,000 of your friend's money, you may not be your friend anymore, So there's all kinds of ways that people, different methods that people try to use to get started or to grow their business, just to get some funding, some capital into the business. And a lot of them are very risky, personally or for your relationships, or you're going to end up paying just very high interest rates, on personal credit cards or even on traditional business loans. So that's why I think there really isn't a better way to get started than the 0% interest funding method. Because the liability, is way better because it's in the business. You're not carrying personal credit debt, and it's 0% interest. And as long as you do it right, you can get a lot of it.
Yes, I agree with you 100%. If you do it in the right way, you're set up for success. You want to start up in the right way, in the right tone, whenever doing it. I have a lot of questions, though, but I'm going to keep it straight. If we were to put it in 2 words or in 3, maybe, what would you tell the public when it comes to them wanting to tap into business card credit stack?
3 words. Good credit, good personal credit. That's already 3 words. 3 phrases. Give me 3 phrases, okay?
3 phrases.
Good personal credit. Business that's set up right, an existing LLC, right? And a strategy. Those are the 3 things.
That's pretty much it when it comes to how to get 800 credit score and 150K in funding. There's a lot of demand for that type of long keyword out there. There's a lot of videos as well. But again, if we were to kind of talk about this last thing before we wrap it up, how to get 800 points in credit score. Let's say your credit score is at maybe 650, but you really want to concentrate right now. You know what? You don't want the PDF. You don't want the great education behind the school system. You don't want the connection, even though it's, is it free to book a call with you, Daniel? Is that right?
It is free to book a call.
Even
Absolutely.
though it's free, let's say you don't want it right now, and what you want to focus is, as a listener, on how to get 800 points in credit score and 150K in funding. Um, what would you tell them?
So if you're at 650 and you're probably on the average of most Americans. Um, and there can be a number of reasons for that. Usually in my experience, what I see for people who want to get started and what's usually preventing people is the fact it is either one of two things. Either they're tapped out on the personal credit side, meaning they have all these credit cards, but they're just have high balances across the board, and and that's kind of holding their credit back, right? The other thing that I see very often is people who just never built up any credit profile. They never got a car loan. They never got a mortgage. They might have one credit card with like a $5,000 limit. And so they almost like don't exist in the eyes of the banks. You know what I mean? Because how did the bank know that they can trust you that you're going to pay back your debts if you never borrowed and paid back any debts, right? So that's kind of the two camps that most people fall into. So the long and short of it is you need to build up a credit profile. You want to have multiple credit cards on the personal front. My recommendation, have a personal credit card with Chase, with Amex, with Bank of America. These are like the big, the big hitters, right? And that shows that you have a relationship with them. Then you want to actually use that credit, but not use it too much, right? You want to keep your utilization around 5-10% and not go too high, you also don't want to have zero all the time because that shows that you don't use credit. And so if you're trying to build up your profile, you have to have credit and use it and just make your payments on time. Don't miss payments. That's a killer. Credit card, a credit score killer is missing payments. So you do all those things. You get a car loan, you get personal credit cards, you make your payments on time. You make sure you have cards with the right, banks and you'll get up to 800, no problem. I've been at 800. I'm not always at 800, but I'm very often in the high, 750 to 800 range. And I don't do anything special. I just make sure I'm not swimming in debt, and I make sure I make my payments on time, and that I have access to a lot of credit on I have, for example, just on one Chase Sapphire card, I have a $40,000 limit, right, on the personal side. And you usually get a multiple of whatever you have on the personal side. You usually will get a like 3x multiple of that on the business side. So traditionally, right, if you have, let's say, $20,000 in personal credit cards, right, in terms of the limits, right, not in debt, you have $20,000 in credit limits on your personal cards. If you add them all up, you should pretty easily be able to get $60,000 to $80,000 worth of 0% business credit, assuming your credit score is good, on the business side.
When it comes to 0% plus leveraged equals passive income, what do you mean with that?
Yeah. So what I've seen from a lot of our customers, and even to some degree my own experience in the woodworking business, was if you can get access to this capital, 0% interest, it allows you to invest in things in your business that allow it to become more passive over time. That was my experience, right? So I was able to invest more in ads, right? Which means we got more sales. And then once we got that system stabilized, then I can hire a salesperson to handle those sales, right? So now I'm taking myself out of one part of the responsibility of the business. I hire a good salesperson. He actually closed better than I did, right? Because that's his job. And then, so that's one thing, right? Then it's like, okay, then I needed money to be able to, for example, in the woodworking business, we had to buy large quantities of wood, right? So, if you buy 50 feet of walnut, they're going to charge you the maximum price per foot that you could possibly pay. However, if you buy 500 feet of walnut, you're going to pay the lowest possible price per foot that you can pay, right? So having access to 0% capital, I could go out and just buy the 500 feet knowing that we're going to use it because we're selling like crazy, especially walnut or oak or whatever. I can go out and buy as much oak and walnut as I can and just keep it in storage until we use it, and it's on 0% credit. So that's what I mean. It's like you can automate and make your life a lot easier when you have access to this type of money. And a lot of folks have even taken it a step further. And we worked with guys, like I said, who are investing this 0% money into Airbnbs and fixing and flipping houses and getting into buy and holds in the real estate space. They'll use it, the 0% money as a down payment to get in there, and then they'll refinance their way out of it. And these guys, the real estate people, are the best finance experts out there. They're unbelievable. There's other guys who have taken 0% money and put it into their Forex, because they know that they win more trades in Forex or in crypto or in day trading. They win more than they lose. So, and they have a strategy that works. So they put 0% money, other people's money, into their trading, and they kind of create this passive income lifestyle in this way.
Which is the smartest way, I would say. There is no better way but to do it with a 0% APR on it and then leveraging it. That's the funding strategy right there. And it goes deeper. This is just the tip of the iceberg from where I come from. Daniel, I come from different types of funding companies, corporate level, that have systems in place and that have fancy this and that. And some are good. I'm not saying that all of them have the best, but they're trying to do their best. I do applaud what they do, but when it comes to like being able to develop in a personal way the relationship and coach you through it, what you have in stock is, I think, a very useful product in the short and in the long term of things. So being able to book a funding strategy, a session that's going to be embedded into the PDF, and no worry about funding your business dreams again, is the quote. This is the main reason I think that Daniel Noe is focused in constantly updating the professionals in the team as a team and putting a work out there for you to leverage. Any final notes on that?
Yeah, I've been making, there was actually a couple of notes I wrote down as we were going through this that a couple of things I wanted to hit before we end. So one thing is, just going back to the passive income thing, it's a very catchy term, especially like on YouTube and whatever. The reality is, if you've been in business and if you know other people in business, there's really no such thing as truly passive income apart from like, putting your money into stocks and just kind of letting it sit there for years, or putting your money, or really, putting your money into like real estate and renting it out. But even then, there's maintenance involved. You know what I mean? Like, and even with the stocks, you got to keep an eye on it, make sure things don't go too hairy if the economy goes down, right? So nothing is truly passive. You got to put work in to whatever it is that you're doing. That was the one thing I want to say. That being said, having access to 0% money really makes life easier, really makes your business life so much easier. It really relieves a lot of the pressures. The other thing, because we've been talking about 0% this whole time, right? 0% APR, 0% interest, business credit cards, right? I want to be totally transparent. It is 0% interest, right? So you'll get, for example, you can get a Chase card, for example, with $40,000 limit, right? $40,000 limit and 12 months at 0% APR. But what does that mean? Let's say you take that whole $40,000 from that card and invest it into, into buying inventory for your e-com business, right? You invest all $40,000, max out the card. You're not going to pay interest on that $40,000 for 12 months. However, there is a 1% fee assessed on the money that you borrow on a monthly basis. What does that mean? If you borrow, in this example, $40,000 of, if you use $40,000 on that card, that Chase card, for example, they're going to charge you 1% fee per month to service that card on the money that you borrowed. So you'll be paying $400 a month to basically, keep that card alive and sort of keep up to date on that. And that is, something you have to pay as you would any other minimum payment on any other credit card, right? So it's technically 0% interest, 0% APR, but on the money that you actually use on that card, you do pay a 1% sort of maintenance fee. And that's basically across the board from what I've seen in Chase, Bank of America, Amex, et cetera. That's kind of the case, across the board. So just wanted to say that in total transparency, whatever money you do use, there's a 1% fee, which is not interest, but it's just kind of a maintenance fee. But still, you can borrow $100,000 worth of 0% credit, and you're paying $1,000 a month to service that. I mean, that's nothing given the amount that you just borrowed, right? Or $50,000 costs you $500 a month for 12 months. I mean, that's really it's a deal. You're not going to get a better deal than that in the funding world. So those are the sort of the two things. And then the last thing I wanted to cover was how to utilize the money. Again, these are 0% interest credit cards, right? And we're gonna, if you go through the process with us, we'll build a funding strategy for you, and we'll say, okay, you're gonna go out and apply for these 2 cards from this bank and this 1 card here and this other card there, maybe 4 or 5 cards in your first round of funding. And hopefully, all in all, we get somewhere from $50,000 to $150,000 in funding. But it's going to be spread out over a few different cards, assuming you get all 5, let's say, right? You get approved for all 5 or maybe just 4 of them. But that $100,000 is going to be spread out across those cards. Now, how do you use them? Well, you would use them just like any other credit card. You swipe them, you make purchases online, you put in, type in the credit card number, you tap them now, right? However, if you need them, if you need to use that funding as cash, there is a method for pulling cash, for pulling the credit off the card and transforming it into cash, I should say, right? So we have a partner, and there are others out there. Liquidating, thank you. So there's a process called credit liquidation, in which you can essentially, through a partner, a trusted partner.
Water.
Yeah, if only. There's a process by which you can basically go to a partner, someone you trust, and say, hey, I have this card with $30,000 on it, and I need it in cash. So you make a payment with them. They'll send you an invoice. You pay them $30,000 with that card, and they're going to take a couple points for themselves as a fee. And then there's also a couple points that they have to account for on their credit card processor. So usually like a 3% fee for the credit card processor, and then they'll probably take a point or 2 for themselves as payment for their service, right? For doing this for you. And then they will then wire you back the money minus those fees, maybe 5% or whatever. They'll wire you back the rest of the money as cash to your bank account. So in that way, you can liquidate funds and use them if you need to use them as cash for whatever reason. And there are, usually that's more like a real estate thing, but just wanted to throw that out there.
Very useful in the market of ideas. Mm-hmm. And when it comes to great spirits discuss ideas, discuss creation. Average minds, they discuss events, which is part of it. The event, what's coming next. Small mind discusses people. Oh, this another influencer, which is not bad at all, right? But it's just part of the natural process, and it occurs in cells. It occurs whenever marketing, sequencing, and automations come into play. Looking to build up a CRM, that's what you see in the back end. That's the awareness funnel type of game when it comes to it. Now you are aware. Daniel gave you some great takeaways and notes. Comes from a mind that is looking to do the best for his family, and he considers the network as so. And he's giving you nuggets that just with this, if and I want to thank you for that. You've been here with us in the studio all this time. It takes deep wanting of knowledge, and hopefully we did serve you well. My intention is to bring you the best, the ask why growth strategies, which is the QY growth. And when it comes to business, specifically using credit card stacking, the strategies to auto scale out there is with Noe, Daniel Noe.
Mm-hmm. You have a
And
great pronunciation, Kyle. So in Italian, it is Noé, like you've been saying. Probably in Spanish too, I'm guessing, right? It's the name
Noe,
Noah
yes.
from the Bible, right? Noah. But yeah, in English, it's Daniel Noe. In Italian, it's Daniel Noé. But either way, I don't have a preference. I love your pronunciation.
You are a lifesaver when it comes to credit funding. Uh, I would love to keep on going. I mean, it's been just 90 minutes, and I say just it's been just because it's just um, it's great to hear from a word that somebody is dedicated to getting the best out of it. If my credit is there, I'm able to tap into it, and I'm able to develop in business when it comes to real estate, when it comes to digital marketing, when it comes to different types of opportunities of investment. I'm a fan of XLM, XDC, XRP. All these fintech technologies are great, and having funding to be able just to buy right now. And this, I'm no professional. I'm not giving you advice. I'm just an apasionado. Soy apasionado when it comes to these type of topics. Getting good funding and being able to pay it out at 0% and getting the best team to work with you at it, hand by hand, blueprint shown, money on the table, secured, let it go, run with it. That's how we do it. I love to connect with people like that, and the growth strategies behind that. You should have a network that is dedicated to it, will only take you to the next level. And if you're a trailblazing entrepreneur like me, you are kin. Noe is a great entrepreneur as well. I've been watching his content, and that's why I'm mentioning all these type of questions, because I want you as a listener to have with you in your arsenal whenever going out there. You're going out there representing whoever your house is. May you grow and gain more traction in your scaling process specifically. Thank you for being here with us, Daniel Noe. It's been a pleasure. This studio wouldn't be alive without you and without the public. Um, Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me, Kyle. It's been a pleasure. And happy to come on again, answer any more questions. I think we covered a lot of the big ones, but yeah, there's a lot of intricacies to this program, to this process. And yeah, we're just here to help people succeed and network and help people grow. And so feel free to reach out. Feel free to ask any questions. As I said, we do the consulting portion to see if the funding could be a good fit for you. The accelerator program could be a good fit for you. Is something that we offer for free. We're happy to have a meeting and just kind of see where you're at and see if we can help. So feel free to get in touch, and look forward to the next one.
Definitely. Well, for our audience, it's been an honor. Remember, learn how to get unlimited 0% interest funding to start or grow your business and scale to the moon with Daniel Noe. This is Autoscale-Digital with the QY growth. Ask why growth. Until next time. Bye-bye.